Love and Bliss family, we're back at you once again in sunny St. Lucia. I'm in my backyard here just chilling. I decided to give the family another video which is long overdue already. Not that long, but you know, want to keep it on a steady schedule. But this new wave right here is going to be about, yes, beaming down on me right now, the sun, which our ancestors referred to as Atum-RA. So why Atum-RA? Well, the ancestors, according to history first off, it is said that the Greeks and the Romans came into Kemet and Africa to learn their arts and their sciences. Alright? Now, within science, if you look at what they refer to as the smallest particle of a substance, right, which can stand by itself, or it can come together, combine with other atoms to form a molecule, okay, they refer to it as an atom. So in the macrocosm, which is in the larger scale of things, in the universe, the sun is an atom. Our sun is an atom. So we can see the relation why the ancestors would refer to it as Atum-RA. Alright? So that's just one aspect why it was actually referred to in that name. Also, if you had to look at the structure of an atom, you will see that an atom is basically composed of three elements. You have the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons. The protons and the neutrons would actually come together to form a mass, alright, while the electrons revolve around it. So the same way, the sun would actually be that proton, and the planets, including Earth, which revolve around the sun, are similar to the electrons. So we can see the relevance in the name atom or Atum-RA. As we know, the sun is light, and light is basically radiation. I know when you hear the word radiation, you're probably thinking, you know, microwaves and, you know, not really good for you. But not all radiation is bad. Microwave radiation is actually synthetic radiation. So yes, we can consider that not too healthy. But then again, all radiation from the sun is actually good for you. Well, good to everything natural, to natural beings on the planet. Everything that is not natural, the sun is actually detrimental to you. And you can take from that to what you want to. So radiation now, alright, is energy that travels and spreads as it goes. So the sun emits light energy. Now, the nitty-gritty of light energy, they refer to it as electromagnetism. But before electromagnetism, I just wanted to say that this light energy which the sun emits is responsible for all life on Earth. So that will make the sun then, or give the sun the title rather, of a life giver or the keeper of life. How do I mean? Okay. There are 4 domains which the ancestors classified the Earth life into. We have the mineral domain, the plant domain, the human domain, the animal domain, and the human domain. The mineral domain uses the light energy from the sun to create the minerals through a process called the carbon cycle. The plants use the sunlight to help in the process of the food, okay, to create what is called photosynthesis, as all of us who went to school should know. Alright? The animals eat the plants, and most animals are vegetarians or vegans, you can say. They eat nothing but plant-based. They have nothing but a plant-based diet. And lastly, we have the human being, right? The human being, the natural being, the melanated individual, uses the sun 2 ways, directly and 1 indirectly. 2 ways in that the sun actually gives us vitamin D, which is one of the vitamins necessary for our well-being and development and our growth. According to science, if you're not a melanated individual, melanated empire, if you don't have that chemical referred to as melanin, you are only 93% of a human being and 7% Neanderthal. Alright? Neanderthal just basically means you're not natural and you compose with the monkey and the canine gene, as well with some other stuff in there. So melanated individuals are natural individuals. So natural people or black people or copper people, or however you want to refer to it as, actually use the sun, that light energy, to produce vitamin D, which is one of the vitamins necessary for our growth and development. The sun also stimulates what they refer to as our melanocyte cells, which are a thin layer of cells below the epidermis of our skin, the top layer of our skin. Stimulate those cells to produce melanin. okay? And then we in turn now eat the vegetation, getting life indirectly. So we all need the sun. If the sun were not to rise, say, in like 6 weeks, we all would be dead, or those who were not dead, they would turn to cannibalism. But then when all life is gone, you know, they would still die. And the planet would get too cold anyway at a very quick rate. We need the sun. This is why ancient cultures saw the fundamental necessity of this magnificent symbol of creation and venerated it. A lot of people like to say, you know, you'll worship the sun and you'll worship the sun. Well, I'd rather worship the sun than to worship a white Caucasian waiting for him to come through those clouds, to be honest, because before he gets there, the sun is going to burn him up. Ain't it? So we didn't worship the sun, though. We venerated the sun. Okay? But let's go back on track. This light energy in its totality would be referred to as the electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic spectrum, what is so to understand the electromagnetic spectrum, you have to understand what is electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is a magnetic field, okay, which is produced through an electrical charge. So whenever you have an electrical charge going through, or whenever there is the presence of electricity, you will get a magnetic field. So the sun emits electromagnetic waves or electromagnetic force to the earth. So the sun has electricity and magnetism. I mean, anyone who's sun gaze, you can see the electric serpent, if you want to call it that, going around the circumference of the sun. All right, so the sun has electricity. So electricity and magnetism coming together, forming what we have, what they call the electromagnetic spectrum. So these magnetic fields or magnetic waves or currents are created by electricity. Now, since we touch on waves, before we go into waves, right? Before we go into waves, despite the sun emitting this light energy, the sun also vibrates. And they measure these vibrates, what they call in terahertz. Okay, what is a terahertz? Okay, let's take it first of all. What is a hertz? 1 hertz. Just think of a drum. I should have my drum here. Just think of a drum. So 1 beat on a drum per second, 1 beat per second is 1 hertz. A kilohertz, okay, is 1,000 beats on a drum per second. So you're beating a drum 1,000 times per second. That is 1 kilohertz. 1 megahertz is 1,000,000 beats per second. A gigahertz is 1,000,000,000 beats per second. And a terahertz is 1,000,000,000,000 beats per second. So I know it's kind of hard to imagine, but you can relate to what I'm telling you. So the sun vibrates at terahertz. That is how quick and how fast the sun vibrates. In relation to this vibration, all right, is the electromagnetic spectrum, which, and part of the electromagnetic spectrum is visible light. The very first color which is visible to the human eye is at the lowest vibration from the sun, which is at 432 terahertz. I need you to get me clearly. That is the first visible light spectrum. That is the first visible light we can see with our eyes. That doesn't mean that nothing is not vibrating below 432. We're just not able to see it with the naked eye. But then, since we touch on those magnetic fields or waves being generated by electricity, since we're touching on waves, we need to actually break down what a wave is. With a wave actually goes up, it comes down. So when the wave goes up, it is referred to as the crest of the wave, and this is referred to as the trough of the wave. But between these two, there is the midpoint. So if you had to measure from the midpoint to the height of the crest, it would be referred to as the altitude. And 2 consecutive altitudes along the wavelength would be referred to as the frequency. We're still on the same thing here. I just need to touch upon that quickly. And if we want to go deeper still, our radio, well, I'll come on to that. So we're breaking down what the wave is. So our sun emits an electromagnetic force, an electromagnetic wave, electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, we explain what electromagnetism is. All right, so the sun does that, but the sun is also a star. The other stars, including the planets, also emit electromagnetic waves. The earth has an electromagnetic field. All right, now all this is the macrocosm. Now you as an individual, you are the microcosm of all of this. Let's take it back down to Atum-RA, because that is the title of the video. Atum-RA, when I explain to you the science of an atom, you, reflection, yes, I'm talking to you, viewer, you are basically millions of atoms come together. Because remember I told you in the definition of an atom, which is basically the smallest piece of a substance you can get, which can stand by itself or come together to form a molecule. Atoms come together to form molecules. Many molecules form cells. Cells form tissues. Okay, tissues then form organs. Organs form organ systems, and then many organ systems in one whole is called an organism, which is what you are. So you are the universe and we are the sun in totality, because even sun backwards is in us. And for those who knows, for those of you who know the science of the chakras, will know that the third chakra, which is referred to as the solar plexus, is in relation to the sun as well. We have that sun in us. That's why we are children of the sun. So the sun has an electromagnetic field. It emits an electromagnetic spectrum. The stars and the planets do the same as well. The earth has an electromagnetic field, and you, as a microcosm, as I said, also have an electromagnetic field, which they refer to as your aura. Now, if I didn't mention it, if I didn't explain, the electromagnetic spectrum being light, we should know that light contains colors, which is why I said red is the first color of the visible light spectrum. So after I tied all of this into us, for those of you who knows about the chakras and the melanic clusters, being 7 of them primarily, if I forgot, family, I'd just like to say that part of the electromagnetic spectrum is visible light. As I explained, that the sun vibrates, and the first color that we see is red, being at 432. All right, now the electromagnetic spectrum deals with many colors, okay, but 7 colors primarily. Okay, we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, okay, and also black. All right, now for those of you who know the science of your melanin clusters or your energy centers, which they refer to as your chakras, okay, we're going to do videos about this. Your chakras are also in relation to these colors, so you could see you on that next level there is also an extension of the macrocosm. Apart from light being visible, light being a part of the electromagnetic spectrum, another part of the electromagnetic spectrum is radio waves. So radio waves is a type of radiation which carry sound messages, which is why we have our radio station. We can listen to radio. This all deals with waves and altitude. This is why AM is 2 stations. We have AM and FM. I explained to you what an altitude is. AM is altitude modulation. So they play in with the altitude, how high and how low it is. FM deals with frequency modulation. Remember, frequency is the distance between 2 altitudes on the same wavelength. So when they modulate that, that's when they have the FM stations. All right, it all goes deep. But remember that the sun emits electromagnetic force, which is the electromagnetic spectrum. Part of that is visible light, which we explained. Thanks, the rooster. Part of that is visible light, which we explained. And the next part is the radio waves, which are a part of radiation, a type of radiation which carries sound messages. So that means that the sun actually communicates with us, which is why it is important to sun gaze. So all these our ancestors knew in terms of the sun, which they refer to as Atum-RA. All right, other cultures came in, they just read just the cover of our deep and esoteric sciences, and they went away with it, which is why we broke down in the first lecture that Jesus Christ is symbolic to the sun in the sky. And having said that, family, peace, love, and bliss. Oh, and I forgot, family, in regards to the color spectrum, all right, another video we need to break down is in regards to the colors and how the colors are associated with the planets and how they affect the earth. Today being Friday, we're showing this video on a Friday, is named after the planet Venus. Venus deals with the color green, which is why I got my green behind the green plants, and I got my green aventurine. All right, so all in stimulation of this planetary energy, which is the feminine energy. Yeah, So having said that, family, peace, love, and peace.